Hello everybody. Hopefully you can all see and hear me quite clearly. If you can, just give me a quick yes in that chat function or a virtual high five. Give me a raise the hand just to let me know that you can hear and see me. Okay, brilliant. Super. Well, we're going to get started very, very shortly. So thank you all so much for attending this session live. So thank you for investing, prioritizing you and your well-being and your time, joining this very short session, just where we provide you with a little bit more of an insight into understanding a little bit more around nutrition when it comes to the Habits for Health program. Oh, there's my nudge. There we go. Okay, fabulous. Well, welcome everybody. We're going to jump straight into the session. I've posed a really interesting reflective question in the chat function, and so let me ask you out and articulate that for you. Feel free to share your answers, your reflections in that chat function. But the question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, if 10 is ideal and you feel like you've been doing a really good job managing your nutrition this week so far, how well would you say you've been managing your nutrition this week on a scale of 1 to 10? If 1 is exactly where you want it to be and you feel like you're doing okay, 10 is exactly where you want it to be and 1 is furthest away, where would you say you feel you've been sitting at the moment? Just an opportunity to reflect. There's no judgment here. Hopefully this is a nice safe space for people to share their reflections in that chat function. We've got loads of people dropping in, which is amazing. So thank you everybody so much for prioritizing your time. I've got 20 minutes, and those of you that perhaps have experienced an onboarding webinar with me already know that I like to talk. So this is going to be a challenge for me to keep it down to 20 minutes. So we're going to dive straight into it. As I said, thanks for committing some of your time and investing and prioritizing you and your time today. We're going to jump into this session and see how we get on. So I've got a slide deck. You will be able to access this session again. This is being recorded, so you can rewatch this as a little bit of a resource just to double down on some of the things that we're going to be sharing with you guys today. Feel free to utilize that chat function. I might pose a couple of questions today, reflective questions, so feel free to perhaps share your intuitive thoughts or answers that jump straight into your brain. Feel free to share them in the chat function if you want to. Let's jump to it. So today we're really going to focus on spending some time to help guide you guys through some of the essential components for nutrition that we're going to focus on today, and understanding a little bit more around counting calories and understanding what it really means to be on a diet and what that really looks like and feels like for us. Some of the key objectives that we're going to be focusing on and is going to be understanding exactly why it is you want to change your daily habits. Now, this becomes incredibly important for us to understand, doesn't it? Because once we really begin to connect with our why, it really starts to drive our purpose and drive our behaviors a little bit more. And it helps to inflate our motivation as well when we understand the whys behind the change that we want. We're going to remind ourselves of some of our current nutritional habits today. So again, as I said, it's going to be a lovely opportunity today to reflect. And we're going to perhaps talk a little bit how we can shift from restriction and more towards nourishment, and how we can do that. How we can perhaps change from a calorie counting mindset to a nutrition mindset. Why is that going to be beneficial for us? So these are our regular kind of monthly 20-minute bite-sized sessions where we kind of share some of these practical strategies where we help ourselves and even others break through from some of those kind of daily struggles or unhelpful habits that we might notice in ourselves or other people. And it's also an opportunity, isn't it, to get a little bit more of an insight into the Habits for Health program. Good stuff. Okay. And it's never a straight line, as you can see here. I'm sure we can all agree. Give me a high five. Life gets in the way. Would you agree? Life gets in the way of your plans. It's challenging, isn't it? But we can overcome these adversities, these setbacks, these disappointments that pop up in our days. We can overcome these frustrations as long as we're very clear on our intentions. We're very clear on why it's important for us to make these changes that we want to go and make. It can be exceptionally helpful and beneficial to really connect with these reasons. Why is it that you want to go away and achieve this well-being goal that you have? Why is it that you want to upgrade your habits in nutrition? What are some of the benefits this new upgraded habit or this new change is going to bring to you in your life? Is it going to give you more energy? Is it going to give you a happier, more satisfied, more contented life? Why is it important to you? Because once we connect with that why, as I said, it gives you that overarching purpose, doesn't it, behind the direction of travel, and also behind why you're doing the things you're doing and the choices you're making. So connecting with your why is really, really important. And some of the things to consider is, when we are attempting that change, connecting with why it is you want to make that change becomes really, really important, really and powerful. Because often a trap that people fall in, and often a trap that we happen across when we talk to people that are experiencing the program, is they tend to set themselves these changes or these new habits that don't really fit with them, or they're not necessarily personally relevant to the person, or they're not important enough to that person. So this is why this is one of my favorite quotes. People are generally better persuaded by the reasons that they've discovered for themselves rather than the reasons that have been expressed by others. I'm certainly not here to tell you how to live your life. And well-being isn't about being told how to live our life. And especially when it comes to nutrition, we are uniquely individual. So what works well for one person might not necessarily work well for another one when it comes to our nutrition. So connecting with your why is really, really important, and understanding why is this change going to be important for your overall and long-term successes. So what is a habit? We use the word very often. It's a habits for health program, something that you do regularly, as you can see up on your screen here, often without knowing that we're doing it. It's especially challenging to give up once we kind of create this habit. And habits are these kind of behaviors that are wired so deeply in our brains that we often perform them, don't we, automatically. And in fact, we can spend 45% of our days, almost half of our days, actually on autopilot, thanks to our habits. So when we start to consider habits, we know that our life today is essentially the sum of our habits. You are your habits. Because often in our lives, we repeatedly do the same things over and over again, and often without even noticing that we're doing it, right? And if we pause and just look a little bit more closely at these patterns, we'll begin to notice and realize that they've resulted in the life that you're living right now. In other words, as we said, you are essentially the sum of your habits. And this becomes really important because unless we pause and intentionally stop to question some of these habits, we might not even realize that we have them. So taking a moment today just to raise your awareness becomes really, really important. So thank you so much for doing that today. Let's jump straight into it. I want to talk a little bit about the word diet. So as you can see here, it's a definition here, the kind of foods a person, animal, or community eats. Another one here is that this has kind of slipped into this kind of definition that it's a special course of food which restricts themselves either to lose weight or for medical reasons. Now, those two kind of definitions sound kind of quite different, don't they? And when we start to pause and again reflect on the next one here, that there's some sort of restriction that's implied, and the word diet seems to have been a little bit kind of hijacked, doesn't it, somewhat, and focused all around kind of weight loss. So really what we want to start thinking about is, if I want to achieve the optimal well-being that I desire, that I deserve, at no point should we start to kind of really restrict our foods or be oppressive with our choices. It's not going to give us that kind of abundant freedom that we really want from our lives and that we really want from our nutrition. And it's argued almost as strongly as politics, isn't it, when it comes to kind of different foods and different diets and those sorts of things. So let me ask you, and share a quick reflection in the chat function if you want to. What diets have you tried in the past? Share with me in the chat function. Because as I said, it's argued almost as strongly as politics, isn't it? I'm on the vegan diet, I'm on a paleo diet. What works now actually might not work in all seasons of your life. So if our diet becomes such a strong part of our identity, it could affect our mental and emotional kind of well-being further down the line. Lovely. So we can all see that everyone's there's a whole range, a vast range. I think not one of them have been the same. No one's repeated one. I experimented recently with a carnivore diet as well. I know people that experimented with all of those diets that you've highlighted there. Cabbage soup diet was one of the first ones when I was working as a personal trainer. My client turned around one day when they were saying that they were feeling exhausted, that they then disclosed that they were on a cabbage soup diet, and I was intrigued, to say the least. Good stuff. Thank you for sharing. Really lovely stuff. Okay, click. So does counting calories really work? Let me ask you, and feel free to share your reflections. How many calories would you say are in each of these graphics? You can see here there's a piece of what looks like 4 slices of flax bread. We've got some apples, a plate of kind of diced apples here. We've got half a blueberry muffin. How many calories on each of these would you say? Would you say there's more calories on the blueberry muffin, half a blueberry muffin, than there would be perhaps with some French fries, or vice versa? Now, what you might be surprised to learn is that they're very, very similar in the amount of calories that are on each of these plates. So if we pause just for a second to connect with the idea that the recommended daily allowance of calories for man is 2,500, and for women is 2,000. If I'm going to be eating 2,000 calories of food, and I'm going to get that 2,000 calories quota from blueberry muffins, as opposed to eating things like broccoli or something that's a lot more nutritious. The thing to consider is that all calories are not equal. And when we start to pause and really think about that, we start to notice that there's a problem when we start to count calories, that it's unsustainable for most of us. We focus often on the quantity over the quality when we start to hold that calorie kind of counting mindset. As we say, if it becomes such a strong part of our identity further down the line, it can lead to kind of mental and emotional challenges as well. And it's oversimplified a lot, isn't it? Just count the calories and you'll lose weight. It's not quite the same. When we start to eat for optimal well-being, not only do you build a better relationship with food, but the irony is that by eating for nourishment, we eat foods that improve our digestion, that improve our mood, that improve our immunity. So consider changing that mindset away from counting calories and much more towards, well, let's start to think about how many nutrients or what nutrients are in this food that I'm about to consume. So the first goal is to really switch that mindset from one of calories, one of nutrients, and not calories. And it sounds dead easy because sometimes we're consumed by that calories. So take a moment again just to look at these different foods on these plates. Would they all make you feel the same way? If you're feeling a bit run down, you've got a cold or you've got a flu or something like that, and you then decide that the best course of action would be to eat chocolates and biscuits and refined and processed foods, you're probably not going to feel as great or recover as quickly as if you were to eat a more nutritious based meal. The muffin would be a go-to over the broccoli, saying someone in the chat function. And I go, I get it. I understand. We all get it. We'll talk about it briefly in a moment. Yeah, and it affects people in different ways. Some people are saying here it will affect us. It make us feel lethargic. It make us feel like we're a little bit bloated. And someone's saying very honestly here that they're feeling have a little bit of a cold right now, but they really, really desire a Snickers. And it's a very specific desire as well. Thanks for sharing. Good stuff. Okay, so when we nourish our body properly, it naturally regulates its hunger, fullness, and so on and so forth. What are the benefits of just consuming? I say just, and I shouldn't say the word just, because just implies that it's easy and it's straightforward. So what are the benefits of consuming nutrient-dense foods? Well, we know that it improves our gut health. And once we have a diet that's full of a variety and diversity, we know that provides fuel for our microbiome, our kind of immune system as well. It supports our brain health, of course. It stabilizes our energy. When we consume foods, we notice that they will influence our blood sugar levels, which naturally influences our energy levels and fatigue levels as well. So by consuming foods that are nutrient dense, and that are certainly meals that would be higher in protein or healthy fats as well, will help stabilize our energy levels as well, maintain our energy levels. We know that benefits of a nutrient dense meal will support our immune function. It supports our gut health as well. And in the long term, we know that if we're consuming meals that are high in nutrients, it actually gives us more energy. So when we start to think about, okay, well, how do I give myself a natural energy boost throughout the day? Think about not just having a movement medicine break and getting yourself up and interrupting long periods of sitting, but think about the benefit as well of having a nutrient dense meal, because that will provide you with energy as well. So I guess we want to consider then how we're going to upgrade certain foods. And here at Wellbeing People, we recognise certainly that food is a privilege. We hold that position that there's no such thing as a good or bad food, I guess. We simply look for ways to upgrade our food choices to benefit our future selves. And we do that by focusing on increasing nutrients and reducing chemicals. And this is essentially what an upgrade is. It's more nutrients and it's fewer chemicals. That's what we like to refer to as a food upgrade. So it gives you a couple of examples here up on the slide that you can take as simple steps that you might want to kind of reflect around to take to upgrade the nutrient intake. Now, we're not asking you to set world records. We're not asking you to make these massive, huge changes in what you eat and how you eat it. We're encouraging you to make those conscious choices, or more conscious choices, around the food and nutrition, and search for those upgrades. So take a moment now and reflect on perhaps your diet and when and what you eat. If you had to, how might you upgrade a snack or upgrade a drink to contain more nutrients and fewer chemicals? So what could you do to look for upgrades, and how might you go about applying that upgrade? So what questions can you ask yourself as well? How do I know that it's nutritionally beneficial for me? So we could ask ourselves, well, where are the nutrients? I'm just about to consume this meal. Where are the nutrients? Where are the carbohydrates, proteins, the fats? Where's the water? Where's the micronutrients? Where's the vitamins? Where's the minerals? Less UPF, ultra processed foods, resist those processed foods. We could ask ourselves, do I actually feel hungry? On that scale of a scale of 1 to 10, how hungry do I feel right now? These are useful questions that we can challenge ourselves when we are experiencing hunger. But also, where are the nutrients? Where's the fiber? Where's the water? These are great questions to ask ourselves, just to kind of get our mindset in a better place to look for more nutrients and fewer chemicals. Drink more water. Yes, someone was saying there quite clearly. And think of that as a foundation. Think about drinking water as the foundation, the absolute foundation, and the glue that really does bind all of the systems of your body together. Every cell in your body requires water in order to function more effectively. If you're dehydrated, just by 1%, it can affect your concentration by up to 12%. So think about consuming water. Perhaps for some of us, the first upgrade might be to do that. Click. Okay, so how do we become a nutrient hunter? Let me ask you guys, share in the chat function immediately. What jumps into your brain? What could you do today to include more nutrients in the foods that you eat today? What will you do? What have you done? What works for you? Perhaps share that in the chat function as well. What have you tried that really works, that adds a little bit more nutrition to your diet? What are you currently experimenting with? Some people are saying add veg here. Cook from scratch, absolutely. Cook your fresh ingredients, you know what's going in there. Absolutely one of the best ways that we can ensure that we've got a meal that's full of nutrients, because we know what ingredients we've put into that. Make everything from scratch, you know what's going in. Someone's saying it, add an extra veg. Why not experiment? Yeah, fruits, upgrade with fruits. Here are a few more ideas. Remember, if the food in front of you is vibrantly colored, it's a good indication that there's lots of various and diverse nutrients in that particular meal. So search for a rainbow colored plate. Search for vibrant food equals a vibrant mood. And when we say that, we know that, you know, there's a link between gut health and mental health, in that one of our neurotransmitters, serotonin, 90% of the serotonin is actually manufactured in our gastrointestinal system. So if I'm eating and consuming foods that are ultra processed and low in nutrients and high in chemicals, that's going to influence my mood. It's going to influence how I feel. Is one of the main mood boosting neurochemicals, neurotransmitters that we have. Seeds and nuts, someone's saying here, upgrade your snacks, try fruit, veg, and nuts. One thing that we can do is this is a wonderful challenge, actually. This is, I believe, one of the progress experiments that you can choose, is experiment with kind of a 30 plant-based foods challenge in your week. So take a little note and just keep a diary of how many different and various plant-based foods that you can consume in a week, or you consume in a week. And this is a lovely experiment, because you can bring in the people that are around you, your colleagues at work, or you can invite your family to kind of keep track of it as well. Choose whole foods as much as possible. Remember, you know, take a moment to reflect. Is your diet filled with beige package kind of rubbish? Does that kind of resonate with some of us? Is that what we're consuming some of the time? So choose those whole foods as much as possible, and try new recipes. Experiment. If your culinary confidence, if your kind of confidence in the kitchen is not where you want it to be, perhaps once a week set yourself a little challenge and just experiment with a new recipe, or a simple recipe that you can start to really develop your confidence. When it comes to kind of establishing habits, I'm sure we can all agree that simplicity equals sustainability. Remember, motivation comes and goes like waves on a beach. Okay, so what we really want to ensure is that any change that you're thinking about employing, ensure that it's nice and simple and accessible. So even on those days when your motivation is waning and your willpower is low, that you can still kind of apply the experiment and attempt the behavior change. Remember, you don't have to devote hours and hours and hours on your well-being each week. You can improve your life by taking just 1% of your day to focus on your nutrition, on your physical, your mental, emotional health, whatever it might be. 1% of your day, which is almost 10 minutes in your day. Give me a high five. Do you think you can find 10 minutes today just to prioritize you? Give me a high five. Do you think you could do that for me? Think I could do that for yourself, just to prioritize you today? 10 minutes, 1%. And if we do that consistently, that will add up to these remarkable changes. Remember, what you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. We're coming towards the end of this very brief